Here's Goodnight Olive making her move to take the lead by a head around the far turn. Race Kane has nearly 10 lengths to make up. So does Scooby Guando, verifying the leader. Top of the stretch, Tapit Trice is coming onto the outside. Up to the mark is running late behind Master of the Seas. Set piece down the center of the course. Master of the Seas alongside Annapolis. Here's Elusive Princess coming after Maj, and Mission of Joy tries to find room between that pair. Maj has the lead. Mission of Joy second. Elusive Princess third. The champ in front. Goodnight Olive chased all the way. Tapit Trice! Tapit Trice wins the Toyota Bluegrass.
Hey again, everybody. Welcome in. Jeremy Plunk from Horse Player Now with the Keeneland Look Ahead podcast. Looking forward to tonight's program as we look ahead to the Friday 10 race card. A couple stakes races for you for October 25th. It'll be day 16 of 17. 2 days remain in the 2024 fall meet at Keeneland. Big day at the track today. If you were taking down the late pick 5, congrats. Drinks on you. Bourbon of your choice. 97,000 in the late pick 5 today for the 57th payout. Good luck if you had that one. Good day for Jose Ortiz with a couple wins in the saddle, and Emmanuel Esquivel winning 2 races at Keeneland today. Surprise jock there, won a couple. He rode one for Cipriano Contreras at 31-1, pulled a big upset. They're actually going to team up in the opening race on the card for Friday. We'll talk about that. Nobody hit the pick 6. The pick 5 was that big balloons payoff. Nobody hit the pick 6, and we do have a carryover, 19,063 going into the pick 6 races here on the Friday card. As for other action, want to keep you up to date with stakes races coming up. We've got 2 of them, the Myrtlewood and also the Valley View on Friday. Then Saturday's tri-features are the Bowman Mill. We've got that one, the Fayette, and then also the Bryan Station. So 3 big stakes races coming Saturday, 2 on Friday, 5 stakes to go over the next 2 days. Should be great at Keeneland. And the weather looks great, too. Friday's forecast, 81 degrees for a high temperature as we approach Halloween. Partly sunny skies. Temperature's going to cool off, but you might not need much more than a light jacket. 64 degrees for the high on closing day. Saturday expected to be sunny. So fast and firm continues. Turf course is dry if you've been watching. I mean, you know that there's been no rain in the area, and the turf course has gotten heavy use this season. So you see a lot of the dirt and things like that kicking up out of the turf course right now. But lack of rain this time of year. I mean, it was almost a joke for a while at Keeneland, like you'll never see firm. It's going to be good turf. There's always some moisture, it seems, whether it's the spring or the fall, but we've had almost nothing but fast and firm all meet long. So it's been good for the handicapping in that respect, but the turf course will be happy to have a break coming up, I'm sure, after Saturday's action. Okay, so we're going to talk about this Friday card, 10 races on the program. Let's take a look at the snapshot and get you set up for how this card shakes out from start to finish. The early pick 5 and the late pick 5 don't touch each other on a card like this with 10 races. So first 5 races 1 through 5 will be the early pick 5. The pick 4 will be races 2 through 5 on the early version. My first of 3 key plays comes up in race number 4. Key place on the card will be 4, 8, and 9. Pick 6 for that 19,000 plus carryover starts in race number 5. That will also start the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. Good to have the Turf Pick 3 back in action. The late pick 5 starts in race number 6. The late pick 4, always a $200,000 guaranteed pool on Fridays. That starts in the 7th. Second leg of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3 there. Again, my key plays in races 8 and 9. They are 2 of the stakes races, the 2 stakes races. In fact, the Myrtlewood and the Valley View. The Valley View race number 9 will be the final leg of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. And we will wrap it up with the Toyota Super High 5. That was hit today on Thursday, so no carryover for Friday's Toyota Super High 5. That's the way it shakes out. Let's get into some handicapping of this Friday card. We start out with maiden claimers in race number 1. These are older maiden claimers, and we've seen some big box card payoffs this meet amongst these maiden claiming runners. So don't be surprised if there's a price involved in here. And part of that price patrol that we talked about today, Cipriano Contreras and Emmanuel Esquivel pulling off the big one with Woodcourt at 31-1 today in the allowance ranks. They team up with Major Mac. When I made this pick a day or so ago, I did not know they'd be coming off a big tandem win together. Now, Major Mac is 7-2 in the morning line, so not going to be that kind of price, but a lukewarm morning line favorite. This horse comes off the claim and moves up from a barn. Matt Shire at 13% to Contreras, who's hitting over 21% for the year. So if this horse moves up at all off the recent effort at Churchill, should be very competitive. But a 9-race maiden, so you're not willing to take too short of a price. I did not think Major Mac would be the morning line favorite when I originally handicapped before the odds came out, but if you look at the other options in here, you've got horses like Lord of Mischief with Irad Ortiz, the 8, who's 0 for 10. So, there are other horses in here who've had some chances and haven't had success. I try to avoid the first-time starters in these older maiden specials, or maiden claimers, I should say. Stick to the horses with the experience as my preferred runners in here. I ended up 4, 9, and 7 in the first. Is it a confident tab? I'd say a 6 out of 10. It's not like yesterday or today's first race. We mentioned before going into the first race today, I don't like any of them. And then we gave 3 out last night as our top 3. 2 of the 3 scratched the first and third horses that we liked. I mean, that was just a race. I didn't like anything on paper, and then it really fell apart with the scratches. This is a better feeling first race for sure than what we saw yesterday. Even though they're bottom-level maiden claimers, I think there's enough there to appreciate with Major Mac. And so, if you can get 7-2, that's not a bad price. You hope to get a little bit more than that, but a big field of 11 when you've got maiden claimers, trip can always be an issue, so you don't want to take too short of a price. But 7-2, the morning line offer isn't bad. I'd jump in on Major Mac at that kind of price. It's a bettable first race on the card. We don't always say that. We're always honest with you. We don't always say races are bettable when they're not. So Major Mac, I think, is a bettable play, 7-2 or above, but don't take too short of a price there in race number 1. Let's go to the second race on the card for Friday, the October 25th program. The early pick 4 starts in race number 2. I think the 13 is a horse you've got to consider in here. If that runner Stonington draws in off the also eligible list, certainly be loose for scratches and changes tomorrow around 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. We'll get the updated selections out to you on social media at Horse Player Now. And also, if you follow me on my Substack, you'll get updated handicapping information sent to your email inbox each and every race day at Keeneland. Comes out after the scratches and changes so we can make adjustments. This race would take an adjustment for me if the 13 Stonington draws in. I do like the 13, but I did not put the horse in my selections from a public handicapping standpoint here. We'll wait and see what happens with the scratches if we move the 13 up. But the 5 is going to be my play in here in the absence of the 13. That's Courageous Clay. Deep closer in the last several starts, 3 races overall. The last 2 just didn't have any speed at all. Showed a bit more pace in the debut at Ellis Park. Robbie Medina, the former Shug McGahee assistant, goes to blinkers on with Courageous Clay. Tyler Gaffleone rides back. This horse was running against the bias at Kentucky Downs, where speed really held on the turf course. Ended up closing 5 lengths when running second as the beaten favorite. So Courageous Clay makes sense in here, but I don't think you have to take a short price on this horse because we don't know how he's going to react to the blinkers. Some horses really react well to it. Sometimes they get taken out of their running style and they're not comfortable where they are in a race. So we'll see with Courageous Clay. I think he's the most likely winner if the 13's not in, but I would take the 13 on top if that one happens to draw in. The 6, Master Sommelier, is an interesting one for me. Andrew McKeever ran this horse opening weekend, going 7 on the main track. We talk about running against the bias. It was pretty speed favoring even to the 3rd day of the meet. That was the 6th, I believe, was the Sunday card opening weekend. And this horse was trying to rally, couldn't do much, but bred for turf by Tappet out of a Giants Causeway mare. There's a lot of reasons to think Master Sommelier was not going to be a good dirt sprinter. Decent enough debut with a little bit of trouble. Now comes back later in the meet for Andrew McKeever, a barn who hasn't had much luck at the meet. So maybe they're forcing a little bit here, trying to get in for a decent $100,000 purse before the meet ends. But Master Sommelier, I think, will fit here, going 1 mile and an eighth on the turf. Didn't mention 1 mile and an eighth, key distance in here. We don't get many mile and an eighth turf races. I think it's been 4 or 5 years since we've had one in the fall meet. So 5, 6 to 2, I'm looking at the most in here. The 7, Executor, is the morning line favorite. Flavian Pratt rides for Chris Block. I mean, turf on turf connections there. War of Will was a mile winner here in Grade 1 company at Keeneland, and of course won the Preakness Stakes on the dirt. The son of War of Will should be effective here, but coming from Hawthorne and kind of had it easy last time. The fractions were terribly slow to go 7.5 and still just couldn't quite finish the deal in that spot. Well clear of the 3rd place finisher, so maybe just the winner Royal Bro was better. but Executor had no excuse last time given the pace scenario, and so I wouldn't take too short of a price on that one. For me, the 13 Stonington, if this one draws in, is the one I want to get to. Hard Spun, the Cyrus had an unbelievable meet. We'll talk about Hard Spun a little bit later, but Hard Spun's had 5 winners here at the meet, 4 of them on the turf, and everything he's putting out on the turf is running really well. Stonington's been trying to get on the grass through 3 starts now. First 2 got rained off, now on the also eligible list. Lindsey Schultz wants to get this horse in a turf route. We'll see if Stonington can get in. Even from the outside post, I would make that horse my play. So give me the 13, and then, of course, the horses I like, 5, 6, and 7 from the main body of the field. As for the other handicappers in race number 2, looking across the way, Courageous Clay picked on top by 3 of us. Executor, Master Sommelier, 5, 6, 7. You see, probably a 3 deep situation if we're looking at a pick 4 or a pick 5. I think you probably want to be 3 deep in this particular spot. I might be gutsy and single Master Mac in the first leg. I mean, I don't like anybody else in that race, and I like Master Mac fair enough. So the difference between a pick 4 and a pick 5 when you have a single is nothing in terms of the amount wagered. You know, you're only multiplying that 5th leg by 1. So if you're going to play a pick 4 and you like Master Mac in the opener, you might as well just go ahead and play a pick 5. If Master Mac wins, then you're in good shape. If not, you could always wheel back and play the pick 4 in the second leg. But I'd go 3 deep in here. If the 13 draws into the race, I would probably go, either 4 deep or single the 13 and then get a little more coverage somewhere else. I don't think we're going to need a lot of coverage, though, in the upcoming 3rd race. This will be one of the bigger favorites on the card in race number 3. 3rd race on the program, no new wagers start in here. But again, it's going to be very important to the pick 4, which starts in the 2nd, and the pick 5, which starts in the 1st race, because it's in the middle of all those sequences, and it's probably the most likely single in the pick 4 and pick 5 early in the day. That's being Positano Sunset. Just a field of 6 in here. Positano Sunset comes out of the Open Mind Stakes at Churchill Downs, drops into a Lounce Company. Look, this is some stakes quality horses in this race, but there's also a handful of just the Lounce types in here as well. But the key about that race, the Open Mind, it wasn't just a listed stakes race. The winner that day, Zeitlos, has already come back to win the Grade 2 Thoroughbred Club of America Stakes here at Keeneland, and will head for Steve Asmussen to the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Prior to that, ran in the Ballerina, beaten by Steve Asmussen's Society, Scylla, Vava. All 3 of those headed to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I mean, this horse has raced against nothing but Breeders' Cup, Filly and Mare Sprint type runners in her last several starts. She finds a much easier spot. Now, the question is, will she handle the mile on a 16th trip? She's only run short of late, but she's out of a consolidator mare. Golden Sense is the sire. It's kind of like mile on mile. So we're thinking this horse could probably at Keeneland get the mile on the 16th, especially with an inside draw. So it's going to be the 16th pole finish line. Let's see Julian Leparoux get this horse into position early coming out of the sprint ranks. There's not a lot of early speed in this race. The 2 peak popularity is coming out of mile and an 1/8 and mile and a quarter races. I think they could put Positano Sunset on the lead and say, come and get me. And I think she'll just wire the field if that's the approach they take. Ragtime Bell, the pick on top for Tom. The 3 Take a Stand, the top pick for Gabby in here. I don't think there's a lot to be made in this race, 6-5 in the morning line, unless we take a shot in the exacta, where number 6, my second choice in here, Bruno Buon, is a horse or filly by Arrogate. She's coming out of the Ellis Park turf. Draw a line through that race. Her last race at a mile at Ellis Park was very good. She's got good dirt form, soiled a little bit by that last start running 5th for Brett Calhoun, but she's kind of got that miler pedigree. I mean, Arrogate went farther, but remember, Arrogate was an unbridled song. The Officer on the dam side. This horse should be best at about a mile to a mile and a 16th. And I think the 6 at 10-1 in the morning line is interesting for the exacta play. So 1-6 exacta, maybe we can get $30 back out of an exacta, $25 back out of the exacta. It's only a 6-horse field, so 30 is probably being too, for a $2 exacta, probably asking too much. But, in the 20s with this 10-1 shot potentially running second. So 1-6-3, the way I'm going to line them up there in the 3rd race coming up on Friday. Let's go to the 4th. Next up, race number 4 is a $150,000 maiden claimer. If you got 150,000 bones rolling around and you got an itch to spend them, maybe you'll claim one out of this spot. It's essentially a maiden special for a lot less purse. I mean, 78,000. We talked about those 110,000, $100,000 maiden specials. So this competition should get a little easier than the Keeneland maiden specials. Race number 4 is one of our key plays on the card, because we're going to a horse who is a repeat offender, if you will, in a good way, not a bad offender, but we're going back to the same well that really hit nicely for us back on October 12th. My Little Punky won that day. We talked about her being one of our absolute best bets of the meet. She had come out of a really strong race at Churchill Downs, was up on the lead the whole way, and ended up second in her debut behind a Brad Cox horse who's headed to graded stakes stardom. My Little Punky came back here against the field that looked like, hey, she can take this field near the front. She wired the field pretty much and ran a dynamite race. This filly, no Mo Picks Please, the 7, was in against her, and she didn't buckle too bad either. She was in it all the way to the final 16th and then started to back up out of it. That was in the maiden special ranks. Now she comes back 13 days later for trainer Chuck Peary. I like this. Mo Picks Please at 10-1, one of my key plays on the card, because I don't see anybody in this maiden 150 who's anywhere near as good as My Little Punky. So I think what Mo Picks Please did on the front end last time would be enough to run away from these horses when the running starts at the, when they get going at the end. So the other horse in here obviously is the 9-Hour Shenanigan, a practical joke filly for Brad Cox, who's going to take a lot of money. But her pace doesn't look like she's as fast early, and I think she's going to be in chase mode. I don't think she's going to be able to run with Mo Picks Please first in the first part of the race. And so Mo Picks Please also was in the 2-hole in that race last time and took all the pressure. Now gets to be to the outside in post 7. Just a lot to like there. I like this one. 7, 9, the 12 Tempers Fly one to throw in there. If you got to have a third place type horse, Trust Fund Philly's a pretty decent one who beat her last time out at Churchill. We'll see Trust Fund Philly a little bit later in Stakes Company. Tempers Fly, the 12 was by Vacoma, who had another winner today. I believe that was the 3rd or the 4th. I think the 4th now of the Vacomas who have won from this 2-year-old crop at the fall Keeneland meet. So 7 with the 9-12, the way I line this thing up here in race number 4, one of my key plays of the day. So I'm going to use the 7 with the 9-12. Exacta key box, 7-9, 7-12. Also look at some tries and supers, 7 with the 9-12 with all, 7 with all with 9-12. I'm going to try to work this. Beat this race with the 10-1 morning line shot, get the 9 or 12 somewhere in there, second or third, and then, let the prices fall where they may, 3rd and 4th, and try to hit on the exotics in here. Chantel's Hope is the top pick for Scott. Manage expectations for Kim. So we've got 5 handicappers with 4 different horses picked on top. Will we keep our 10-1 morning line price? Kind of feels like it when we look at this handicapper selectors box. So first of 3 key plays on the card, Mo Picks Please, and we're going to try to ride the back of My Little Punky, if you will, to a second victory of the meet coming out of that race against her. Catch our breath and get set for race number 5, 1 mile and 3/16 on the turf here, a unique turf distance. We don't get a lot of these races either. But the further they go in the turf, sometimes you think of, you got to have the stamina and you want the horse with the pedigree. And in 1 mile and 3/16, my boy Tony has an outstanding pedigree by Noble Mission, the son of Galileo. This horse is coming off a 2nd place finish last time out, my boy Tony, behind Golden Eye. And we've already seen Golden Eye come back here and win at the meet. So I'm on the 1 in here, my boy Tony. I'm on an island, 8-1 in the morning line. Luis Saez riding for Eddie Keneally. Keneally's had a good meet. Saez is right up there, 2nd in the standings behind Tyler Gaffleone. He's had a good season. The 3 Vesture is another one of these hard spuns. So we talked about that. You got to watch out for the hard spuns on the turf here. And this horse has run 3 straight really nice races on the grass, from Churchill to Ellis to Kentucky Downs, and was here at Keeneland back in April and ran a decent race when running 4th in Maiden Special Weight Company. That was the first time ever trying the grass, and only been with Mott for a couple months at that point. Mott's had the horse for longer now. Back to Keeneland off of some fitness building races. I wouldn't be surprised with the 3 Vestures, a handful in here. So I like the 1 and the 3 quite a bit in this particular spot. Number 9, Tafira, got no help at all in the last couple starts, especially last time at Saratoga. You're not going to close on that turf course when they go 49-2, 113-1 for the first 6 furlongs. That race back on August 24th is almost a throwout race for the Brendan Walsh trainee. Just had no chance in there against 2 next out winners, Donegal Momentum and Green Light as well. So the 9, Tafira, is coming out of a good race. 1, 3, and 9, all major players in this particular spot to me. And that doesn't even count the 4, the Ginger Wizard, who Tom and Kim are picking. nor Scott's top pick in here, Black Iron. This is a good betting race. The Ginger Wizard, the 4, Graham Motion, first-time U.S. runner here. Haven't had a chance to see any workouts published for this horse. Comes in from Ireland. Recent acquisition. This horse ran August 17th in Ireland. So it's not like one of these who came over and took a long time to acclimate. They got here in August. They're running about 2 months later in live racing. But again, no workouts showing. We're going to assume this horse has been at Fair Hill with Graham Motion for a little while, but maybe check with Scott and Gabby today at Keeneland. Maybe they have more information on that show to give you on the Ginger Wizard. But I think there are other good options that I can tell what they can do. I'm not sure what the Ginger Wizard can do, but I've got good options here amongst the domestic horses. So I'm going to lean on the 1, 3, and 9 in race number 5. Of course, that 5th race on the card is the first leg of the pick 6, $19,000 carryover. I don't think you're getting through that leg without using 3 or 4 or maybe up more. So Keeneland Turf pick 3 as well. There are good options in that race. So I think it's a fair race to spread. If you're looking at the multi-race wagers, I wouldn't lock down on one particular player or two in that one. I think there's some good options to go with. So let's move on now to race number 6. The late pick 5 is going to start in this spot. I like the positioning on the card for this race because there's 2-year-olds. They're almost all first-time starters. 12 horses in here. There's one running line between the 12 horses. 11 first-time starters in the main body of the field. I think 2 of the 3 or 3 of the 4 also eligibles are also first-time starters. But this is the first leg of the pick 5. So you will be able to see the horses. You'll be able to see the wagering and get a little bit of sense more about these horses before you have to bet them blindly in the pick 5. In the pick 6, you're out of luck. You're going to have to do it. In the pick 6, you're going to have to do it off of what you see on paper, workout videos that you're able to find at Keeneland.com and the like, workout reports, any information that you like to use when it comes to first-time starters. But there is not a lot to go off of in race number 6. One thing you can do, though, if you are playing the pick 6, race 5 to race 6, and this is the same if there is one of these 2-year-old races that are kind of buried second leg in any multi-race wagers, look at the daily double probables for the race that starts off the pick 6. So, for instance, race number 5 today will start the pick 6. The 6th race is the one we don't know how the public's going to bet it. We don't know anything about the horses physically. We won't know anything about physically, but we will get a sense of how the public's betting the race in the daily double probables. So look at the doubles from race 5 to race 6. Mark down who they're betting the most, who's paying the least amount, the daily doubles that are taking the most money into race number 6. And that won't always tell you, but way, way more often than not, that will give you a good sense of who the live money is going to be on in that next race. And you don't have the benefit of seeing the win pool odds, but you'll have the benefit of the daily double probables. And that's something that's not just like in everybody's face. Like if everybody can see a first-time starter is 3 to 5 on the tote board, everybody jumps in, I got to use this horse, he's live, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of people will not take the time to look at the probables and sit there and go 1 and 2 and 3 and see like who they're betting and take the time. That's why you handicap ahead and you get prepared so that you do have the time and you do have the patience and the preparation to do something like that. And you'll be able to look ahead from race 5. When race 5's betting is going on, you'll be able to look ahead to what the daily doubles are paying to the horses in race 6. And that'll give you a sense already what you can do in that pick 6 of like, oh, wow, there's a horse who's really live. I might want to use that horse on my ticket. If you believe in the tote action, then that's one of your tells and your tips, looking ahead to the daily double probables from one race to the next. So the 6th race here will be the first leg of the pick 5, as we mentioned. One start between the 12 horses in the entire field. So we don't have a lot to go off of in this particular spot. We've got 2 different people taking Voila Magic and 2 taking Enos-Town, and then 1 taking Problem Solved. So 5 handicappers, 3 different horses picked on top. A decent amount of 5s, 11s, and 7s as you look kind of across the way there. The 2 Acknowledge gets a little bit of a play as well. I went with the 5 Voila Magic, 10 to 1 in the morning line. The reason I like this horse is a good work at Keeneland, gate work. Second work, I called it last night, a buried workout. There's been a workout since then. It wasn't hidden or anything, but it's not that glaring, oh, this horse just worked second fastest at 20 a couple days ago. But first time starter for Steve Asmussen, he goes and gets Jose Ortiz. They hit 27% together. But the thing I like about this horse is if you look on the past performances in the pedigree line, this horse is by Volatile, Voila Magic. by Volatile, a stallion who stands for just $15,000. But this horse brought $275,000 from a low price stallion. Typically, that tells you the horse is really made well, and there was a bidding war beyond what you would expect for a horse by Volatile out of a Lionheart mare. This horse should not have brought anywhere near 275. So I think there might be some win early about this horse. Might really be put together well. Ass Mission for Three Chimneys Farm, 10-1 in the morning line. We'll see Voila Magic. That's my angle in what we're trying to decipher here. I'm not a guy who's out at the track every morning watching workouts. I'm not one who buys workout reports. I've been involved with workout reports over the years, and a lot of different handicappers work with them. What I found was when I look at workouts, I don't have every work on every horse. And so I get misled sometimes into like, hey, horse A is really working good, but horse B and C, we don't even have workouts for. So how do I know how they're working compared to horse A? And so I would find myself falling in love with a good workout report or a good video analysis of a workout for a particular horse, but that not give me a sense of how that horse stacks up with the rest of the horses in the race. You know, there could be King Kong in there and we don't know about it because that one wasn't part of a workout report or part of the workout video process. So if you have a very thorough workout report that's got everything and everybody covered, then you're probably in better shape than not. But for me, I'm kind of using some between the lines handicapping in races like these, pedigree plays, stuff like that, sales prices, the pattern of the workout tab. I don't like to see gaps in there. They should be working every week, every 6 days, every 7 days, and they should have 6-7 works at least leading up to their debut. So, you know, those are the kind of things I'm looking for. And then I can also just pass the race. You know, been around long enough, been doing this since I was in my pre-teens. And, you know, I mean, if I just don't have a feel of a race, I'll just pass it. You know, there'll be another one coming up. This is the 6th. I promise you there'll be a 7th, you know? So if you can't get a feel for a race with the tools that you want to use and your intuition, then just wait for the next one. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to play pick 5s, pick 4s, and you've got to get through this race, well, that's when you start having to put pieces of the puzzle together. And you may not have the best pieces to work with or the best tools to work with, but then you do the best you can if you're looking at multi-race wagers. So 5, 11, 12, the way I went, problem solved. The 11 is kind of one of those obvious ones. It's Brad Cox, first-time starter, bullet workout. Again, that buried work, the second work back, not the first work, but the second work on the tab is very good. And this horse has been working like every 6-7 days like you want to see, has works over the track. So no doubt the 11 should be a factor in here. Canton at the 12 for Larry Ravelli by Justified. This horse looks like maybe could run a little bit because Ravelli could have debuted this horse at Hawthorne and probably been 2-5. But he wouldn't be running for 100,000 maiden special. So the fact that they're bringing this Justify to Keeneland to debut, I think Canton might be pretty decent in here. So 5, 11, 12. But again, we're kind of reading between the lines there in race number 6. As for the other handicappers, they've got Enostown the 7. Problem solved for Law Magic. We'll kind of mix it around and see if you can't get through that race if you're playing the multi-race wagers. Let's go to race number 7. Look, if race number 6 scares you off because you can't get a feel for it, then maybe you're not in the pick 5 or the pick 6, but the pick 4 won't involve that race because that starts in race number 7. These are the decisions you make, and that's why we give you the snapshot of when the bets start and when they end. So if you say to yourself, I can't do anything with race 6, I don't have any feel for it at all, then you can kind of pick your wagers around it. And that's what we're looking at here with a pick 4 that starts in race number 7. Also, the Keeneland Turf pick 3 starts here. That would have nothing to do with that 6th race as well. So maybe you're a late pick 5 player, but you don't want to play the pick 5 because of that race. It has one start amongst the entire field. Then you say, I'm not playing the pick 5 today. I'm going to put my budget into the turf pick 3. I'm going to put it into the late pick 4 and attack those pools. So that's why we're strategizing here. Let's go to the 7th race, the late pick 4, the turf pick 3 involved in this one. 7th race on the card. I went with number 1, Judge Davis. Now, this horse is going to need a lucky trip from the rail going 5.5 on the turf. You know, in these bigger field sizes, we've got 11 in here pre-scratches. I like 3, 4, and 5 as my post, but I don't like the 3, 4, or 5 in this race from a handicapping standpoint. So I'm not going to use any of those particular horses in here. Judge Davis is from the rail. You're going to need a bit of luck, but there's a lot of speed in here. The 2, the 4, the 8, and the 11 should all go barreling out of here. And this gives Judge Davis the chance maybe to find a seam, close up the inside under Vince Chaminade. And I think this horse, who's run some decent races over the turf here at Keeneland, won over this course, going the 5.5 furlong trip back in October of last year with the same kind of trip that's going to be here, coming from 9th or 10th and trying to rally. I've got the one Judge Davis, 8-1 in the morning line, but you can't be overly confident in a turf sprint from the rail, and you need to get through and you need some pace. So there might be some horses in this race that are more likely to win, but I think at shorter prices, I don't necessarily want to take them because I like the pace set up in here. I like Chaminade as a turf rider. This horse has won over the course. And to be honest, the last 2 days, the last 2 turf sprints we've seen at Keeneland, it doesn't happen often, but the one horse has won the last 2 today and yesterday. Wesley Ward got the one today, and then 2 days ago, I'm trying to think who won, or maybe it was Ward 2 days ago. But either way, the last 2 turf sprints run on Wednesday and Thursday this week were both won from the one post. It's not the best place to be in a turf sprint unless you start getting down to like 9-10 horses, and then you've got more space. See, that's the thing. It's not that the rail itself is a bad place to be. It's the congestion is a bad deal. So if there are fewer horses in the race, then there's more of the turf course to work with, and some of the outside horses are breaking out, and there's more space to work with just in real estate overall, and you might be able to find some space and have a safer trip. It's like the Kentucky Derby. You don't want to be down on the inside because 19 horses are all trying to come down on top of you. So that's why like the rail can be a great spot if it's not a huge field and you've got the speed to get out of there, you know. But I don't think that's the case with the one in here, Judge Davis. There's no speed. We're going to the back of the pack. We're going to need to find a way through. Actually, I'm hoping for a couple scratches in there to make the trip a little bit easier. But at 8-1, I'm willing to take the gamble. Wouldn't touch the horse at 3 or 4-1. And speaking of a short price, the 9 None Hudson is the 3-1 morning line favorite. Class dropper in here, but this horse has had 4 shots for Wesley Ward over this turf course and only has 1 third-place finish to show for it. So None Hudson's been an underachiever here at Keeneland, but you've got Frankie Dettori and Wesley Ward, which are going to take money, and there's respect, obviously, for the connections, and some of the races this horse has been running in have been higher class races. So None Hudson is a really, a decent turf sprinter, and in a Lowndes company should be rather effective, but here over the course, I'm not willing to take a short price, and I think this horse with Ward and Dettori at 3-1 morning line favorite will probably be an underlay. The 8, Gene Valjean. Interesting how many people are kind of lining up to take a shot with this one, both Scott and Gabby. I've got Gene Valjean picked in here second. This horse has Penn National and Mid-Atlantic form for Elizabeth Merriman, Maryland-based trainer at Fair Hill. This horse has run really well since they found the turf with her. Or with him, he has really been something else. Now, the last race, the Turf Monster at Parks, was taken off the grass that day due to the poor course condition at Parks. So that race went back to the dirt, and this horse was beaten at 3-5. But the prior 3 races, I know 2 of them are at Penn National and 1 are at Laurel, but they were really, really impressive turf sprints. I don't know how good she is, but I know she's fast. And Florent Giroux likes to break from the gate. So we know the 8 is going to go flying out of here. Problem is, I think the 2 is also fast, the 4 is fast, the 11's fast, and Wesley Ward's not going to be too far off of it with None Hudson probably. So I think it's going to be a really fast pace. But the best of those speed horses may be Gene Valjean. This is a race I think you want to kind of get a little bit of coverage in here or take the gutsy move. And, I'm on the island with the one in here, Judge Davis. This might be the time to maybe just say, look, let's take 2 because of the running styles. Judge Davis, like we talked about, is going to come from way back, right? Gene Valjean's got a ton of speed. If I go too deep in a race, I usually don't want to have 2 horses that have the same running style. Because if it doesn't work out for them, it's not going to work out for either one of them. If it's too fast or too slow. If it's too slow and I got 2 closers, neither one's going to get up. And if it's too fast and I got the 2 horses dueling on the front, they're probably going to get nailed by somebody in the finish. So 2 different running styles for me is a good time to go too deep. So as we talk about and discuss this race and look at it in a little more depth, I kind of like the idea of going too deep in here. Take the blaring speed with Gene Valjean, take the closer in here with Judge Davis, and you're going to be rooting early and late. Whether or not you're going to be rooting right at the wire, that's what we're here to gamble and find out about. But you've got divergent running styles that if the race sets up one way, it's going to favor one of them. If it sets up the other, it's going to favor the other one. And that's kind of what we're looking to do in putting the puzzle together in this particular race. So let's go too deep there in race number 7. that turf sprint allowance. To the 8th we go. It's one of our key plays on the card. It's the Myrtlewood Stakes. Myrtlewood Stakes was inaugurated 3 years ago. 2-year-old filly sprinters in the Myrtlewood, a big field of 12 in here. We'll see after scratches. We've got a couple that have been cross-entered in some other spots on Sunday. White Sands and the other one, Long Neck Paula, the two horses for Wesley Ward. They're both fillies. They're also both entered in tomorrow's or Saturday's stakes race. The Saturday stakes race being the Bowman Mill. So you would imagine Wesley's probably going to take one of them out of here and run one against the boys tomorrow. Can't get any real sense of whom that would be. Maybe the 4 White Sands, just because of Corrales is named here. And you've got the A-list rider, Long Neck Paula, getting Frankie Dettori. I don't think you put Dettori on a horse in a stakes race knowing that you were coming out. So my guess is if Ward doesn't run both in here, Long Neck Paula would stay. White Sands would scratch and run on Sunday, but we'll see how it shakes out. Again, this is another good reason to sign up for the Substack, to check out at Horse Player Now tomorrow morning to get updated changes for the Myrtlewood Stakes. But my pick in here, one of my key plays of the day, number 8 in here, Andrea. She's been 2 for 2, and she has looked absolutely fantastic in her 2 starts in South Florida for Saffie Joseph Jr. She won her debut looking like a good thing, strong on the back end of that race. Then she stretched out to the 1-turn mile of the Hallandale Beach Stakes, and she just put them on lockdown and went on to win easily. Easy fractions to start there, but you can't really trust the timer and the fractions at Gulfstream. It's kind of hit and miss with that. So I think the speed figures are a little underplayed on her, but even her debut at 74 would stack up with most of the favorites in here. 8-1 in the morning line. She is a flat-out runner, and Saffie Joseph usually does pretty well here at Keeneland over the final week of the meet, bringing some horses up here. She's got a bullet workout since her last race, her win in the Hallandale Beach. Tyler Gaffleone says, I'll take the mount here. He's the leading jock at the meet. He rides 26%, teamed up with Saffie Joseph. I don't think we're going to get 8-1. People see 2 blowout victories on the resume, and I think they're going to bet the horse down off of that. Plus, the other thing, too, and some benefit to Nick's morning line in here and some defense of it is he's got Long Neck Paula and White Sands, 2 horses, stakes quality, stakes winning horses for Wesley Ward, and you've got both of them figured into your morning line. If one of them comes out, they're probably worth 20 to 25 points in the morning line, from 4-1 to 3-1 area that go back in on somebody else. And so when you're making a morning line like this and you're not sure which horse is going to go, you've got to act like they're both going to be in the race. So all the other prices are going to be inflated in here because you got 2 wards that are probably going to be, lower on your morning line. Now, one of the wards comes out, you can basically say we need a new morning line for this race because now, again, 20, 25 points might be back in that are going to be divided up mathematically. So not to be a nerd in all the math, but that's the way it's going to work. So once the one of the ward horses comes out, you can expect all the prices on most of the major contenders are going to come down because that money would end up drifting to those contenders. The 3-1 morning line favorite is Trust Fund Philly. We talked about her in an earlier race that there was a horse in there who was coming out of a race with Trust Fund Philly. So, keep track of what happens during the course of the day. If that filly who ran with Trust Fund Philly comes back and runs really well, that's a feather in the cap. If that horse doesn't run well in the maiden ranks, you might say, well, maybe Trust Fund Philly's not as good as I thought coming off that debut win. So keep that in mind. Which race was that? Pardon me while I look down at my past performances, but that was the maiden special, probably race 2. No, race 2 was Colts. Which race did we have the 2-year-old fillies? Well, you'll rewind the video and remember which one I was talking about earlier. But there's the filly who ran against Trust Fund Philly, who gives us a little bit of a sense of her quality going into this particular spot. But I'm on the 8 in this one. Trust Fund Philly, the 10, respect. Got that one in there second. And of the wards, I like Long Neck Paula better of the 2, and I think that's the one who stays in. So I've got this 8, 10, 12, but I'm not going to mess around seconds, thirds, things like that. This is a straight-up win bet for me, and this is going to be a single in the multi-race wagers. I like the fact that nobody else is taking her on top. There's some respect for Andrea's second and third. by the other handicappers, but I'm really leaned in here and think she's going to run a big one. The 2, 3, and 4 also get top tabs in here. Echo Sound, the 3's got a couple of them on top. Rusty Arnold, nice meet he's having. He's turning back the clock this year. Rusty Arnold's winning like it's like 1990 or something at Keeneland. But Echo Sound has got back-to-back wins at Ellis and Churchill. And Rusty gets Irad Ortiz to ride. You do not see that very often. So that's a pretty good sign there that they're ready to go with this filly in the stakes company. So good looking group for the Myrtlewood Stakes, but give me the 8 in there as one of my key plays of the day. To the 9th race we go. We've got another key play in stakes company. It's the Valley View Stakes. The Keeneland Turf Pick 3 wraps up in this spot. We'll see if we can shake down the Keeneland Turf Pick 3 on Saturday. We've got a key play in just one of the 3 races. On some of the cards, we've had 2 and 3 amongst the Keeneland Turf Pick 3, but this is an interesting stat here. The Valley View Stakes, right? We'll talk about the Valley View coming up here. Favorites have lost the last 16 editions of the Valley View Stakes. 16. So if you want to take a short price in this race, go right ahead. Why? I always try to figure out why are we trying to figure out, why stats are what they are. Are they just statistical anomalies? Is it weird coincidences? Or are there some explanations for it? Well, the Valley View is a grade 2 turf mile for 3-year-old fillies. It's at the end of the meet at Keeneland. And we had a race already for the top 3-year-old fillies at the meet. That was the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. So this is almost like an afterthought. So these are either fillies who weren't up to the task of going in the QE2. Sometimes we get a horse wheel back out of the QE2 quickly. And I don't think the public gets a sense of the quality of these fillies that are running this late in the year. Are they comebackers? Are they horses who aren't cut out for the Breeders' Cup? If you had a really good 3-year-old filly, you might be considering the Breeders' Cup at this point in time. Are they late bloomers? Or we got some international horses to figure out. So there's a lot of factors that are going into this race that aren't cut and dry, and they're all second stringers. And you don't want to say that about a grade 2 horse, but again, if they were top-notch 3-year-old fillies, they would have run in the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup for what, $700,000 or whatever it was, $750, instead of running a couple weeks later for $350 here in the Valley View. So I think that's part of it, that the public doesn't get a good sense of who's here because it's kind of a mishmash of fillies who are left this time of the year, and some might be cramming because there aren't that many good 3-year-old filly turf races left in the campaign, especially not having to go against older horses. Maybe you get to Churchill and you're going to have to run against some older horses, in November, older fillies and mares. So trying to figure it out, but regardless of the fact, 16 favorites in a row have lost in this particular stakes race. So who's going? Who can we talk about in this particular race? Let's see. We've got the field for the Valley View, sponsored by Bank of America. 14 can go. 2 will be on the also eligible list in here. I think the 15 and 16 should be listed as the also are 14, 15, and 16, 13, 14, 15. So we're going to go 12 deep in here with the 4 also eligibles. Get your facts straight in here. Look, this is a race where the 1, Opera Mundi, is first time in the U.S. for Brendan Walsh and Tyler Gaffalione. We're going to talk about that filly in just a moment because earlier this week, Tom Leach caught up in the paddock with trainer Brendan Walsh to talk about Opera Mundi. So we're going to give you a little insight on that filly in just a bit. Poolside was Slim, good-looking 3-year-old filly. Has had a very consistent season. She's got a versatile running style. If it's slow, she can go. If it's faster, she can track. Frankie Dettori's ridden and partnered with her well. I was there when she won the Penn National Oaks under Dettori in a determined effort. She's got a shot in here with a really good post position out of the 2 hole. And again, Rusty Arnold's horses are running really well here in the back half of the meet. Some other horses in here. I've got the 11 Nicest Pie is one you really want to keep your eye on. That's going to end up being my top pick. She's got a tremendous turn of foot. If you saw her at Turfway Park winter into the spring, she looked like the next good thing. Then she tried a turf sprint in the Mamselle, a little bit too short and sharp for her. Then she went long and ran really well with some traffic trouble and problems at Penn National. Then off the layoff, she came back against older horses in the Presque Isle Masters, and she ran a pretty good one, only getting beat 2 lengths by Roses for Deborah. Against older fillies and mares, she can really run. So I'm on the 9 in here, or the 11, I should say, Nicest Pie. I think she's going to like the mile distance And hopefully she drops back and just has a tremendous turn of foot. 10-1 in the morning line. She'll be my play. Let's look at the other handicappers across the way in the Valley View. So one of my key plays of the day, nicest buy in here, the 11, not touched by anybody else. I love it. We're on the island. We're going to get every bit of that 10-1, hopefully maybe a tick or two more. And we're going to be all in pushing to the center of the table with this one. The 4 lay race is a second-time U.S. runner. Good U.S. debut coming from France from Christophe Clement, rallied to win. Didn't get a lot of pace help at Belmont at Aqueduct. So that was a very good race. No knock on the 4 whatsoever. Gets a good post position. Again, I just love the 11 in here, and that's why I'm on her. Poolside was Slim, my third choice in here at 2-1. She's going to run a good race. She's always right in the mix, and she should get a great trip. Opera Mundi is the top pick for Tom Leach. He's done this before this meet where the person he interviews turns out to win the stakes. Let's see if he's Nostradamus again. Opera Mundi and trainer Brendan Walsh met up with Tom Leach earlier this week.
Opera Mundi's was training up at Turfway. How's she doing?
Doing good, Tom. Yeah. She's been doing well since she got here. She's nice filly. She's got good form from France. So we're expecting a big run from her.
What kind of scouting report have you got?
Pretty good. I mean, she's been working with Manushka, who won here last week or the week before. So there's not much between them. They both came together. So, even on form, they're quite similar. This one has a little bit more accomplished than her. So, we're hoping that it'll stand her in good stead.
Assuming with a lack of rain, it's going to be considerably firmer turf than she's been on. Do you know if she has a preference?
I think it'll work out fine for her. They kind of sent her over here with that in mind, that she'd have faster ground over here, so it should work out good.
How's East Avenue doing?
Doing super, Tom. Yeah, he had a great week. Worked last Friday. We're going to work him again this Friday, and then he's due to ship out on Saturday. So hopefully everything goes good between now and then.
So good info there, some good intel. Worked in company with Manushka. They were pretty even up. This one maybe a slightly bit better than Manushka, according to the trainer Brendan Walsh. Manushka came back and won an allowance race, first time U.S. here at Keeneland earlier in the meet. Opera Mundi is going in the tougher spot in the Valley View here, grade 2 company. So Opera Mundi, one to watch here. Good interview from Tom. We appreciate that. You can get all of the interviews that Tom does throughout the meet, and some extras that we don't show here on the podcast on the Keeneland YouTube channel. So be sure to check that out. Nicest Pie, La Race, Poolside with Slim, Opera Mundi, 11, 4, 2, and 1. All logical options that you can consider in the Valley View Stakes. But we are going to get our price on Nice as Pie, and it will be if we can get that one home at double digits. All right, turf pick 3 in that race 2 ends. So maybe you're going 2, 3, 4 deep in there, perhaps in the Valley View. Some really good options. I love spreading when there are good options. I don't like to spread when there are bad options. I'd rather pass than spread a race that has a bunch of bad options. Toyota Super High 5 is the 10th and final race on the card as we wrap up the penultimate day of racing at Keeneland. The Friday card, race number 10, finishes in maiden special weight company, 6 furlongs here. These are older fillies and mares, 3 and up. Looking to break the maiden. I went to the outside in here with number 12, Sang. Sang could get us a nice price, 8-1 in the morning line, not picked by anybody else. So we're on an island in the 11th. We're on an island in the 12th. We've got key plays in the we're on an island in the 9th and the 10th with the 11 and the 12. We've got a key play in race 8. You can see, I mean, like Judge Davis from off the pace and the 2 deep situation with Valjean in race 7. You can see the back half of this card's got me excited. I think this is where we can do a little damage. Won't get sucked in too hard in race number 6 with all those first-time starters. So late pick 4 looks like a really good play for me. The way I like these races, you're looking at 2 by 1 by, maybe you go 4 in the stakes, and then we come back and try to hit a price in the nightcap here with Sang. This horse has good sprint speed in a race where there isn't much speed and there isn't much sprint speed. The horses have shown a little bit of early pace, like number 2 On Command, have done it in longer races. So I think at a sprint distance, there's not a lot, especially on the dirt. Hayakai, the 4, showed a little speed on the turf. But again, dirt speed in sprints, it's Sang. And I think this horse can just go. Last time out was fast. 44 and change at Churchill was right up there. Only got beat 2 lengths. Sophie Doyle right here for Greg Begley. Begley hasn't won a race this year. Very small barn. Only 9 starters. This one's made up 5 of them. So it might be a 2-horse stable. But speed to the outside, you don't have to think. Go. and you're not going to get in traffic trouble. I love the post here for a horse who could potentially just be faster the first quarter of a mile than everybody. Just rodeo out of there, Sophie Doyle, and see how far you can take him. Sang at 8-1 in the morning line. I like that one here. So the 6 points is points. Have to respect Brad Cox, 3-year-old filly by Constitution. First-time starter here with some Turfway workouts. Again, the workout 2 starts back, second fastest of 80. I mean, this is kind of what you want leading up to a debut. Would be no surprise at all if the 6 can run in here. The 2 on commands had some chances already, but it's Rusty Arnold, John Velasquez, good form, cutting back and trip. The one thing that worries me, the one race at Keeneland was terrible, but that was in the slop. So maybe on a dry track, this horse will like Keeneland a little bit better. 10-6-2, and maybe the 4 you could throw in there as well. But again, that form is not as proven on dirt as it is on synthetics and on turf. I'm just taking all the variables out, right? You get rid of all the variables. You're in the 12 hole. You don't have to worry about traffic. You've got speed and dirt sprints. The other horses don't. Let's just get Sang out of the gate and see how far she can go at 8-1. That's how I'm going to wrap up my day on Friday. If you're playing a pick 4, pick 5, maybe you're bold and single. Maybe you go a couple deep in here and use some of the other logicals. 6, 2, and 4 would be the other ones I suggest on the other side and on the underside as well when we're talking about the exotic wagers. So that's going to wrap it up. Long-winded night. We almost got to the 50-minute mark here as we're going to say goodnight. We will be back on Friday to preview the Saturday card. Again, Saturday's program features the Bowman Mill, the Fayette, and also the Bryan Station on closing day. There's mandatory payouts in all the multi-race wagers on and all the intra-race wagers as well, like the Super High Five on closing day. So keep an eye on that for Saturday. We have that $19,000 pick 6 carryover going into the Friday card. If nobody hits the pick 6 on Friday, then that 2-day carryover will go into Saturday with a mandatory payout situation. So that could really spice things up and juice things up for the final day of racing. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. We'll know what situation we're looking at for the final day of racing at Keeneland. But it looks like another beautiful day in terms of the weather. Good luck to you playing the races on Friday. And I'll be back tomorrow, 8:30 Eastern, for the Keeneland Look Ahead podcast. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for joining.